Hello, everyone. Welcome, Professors Piqué, Jasmina, and Bruno. Hello, ladies and gentlemen from YouTube and Facebook. It is lovely to see you here watching EcoHubi activities again. We appreciate a lot your attending. So I want to ask our audience to say a kind of hello and describe from where you are. Put your name and your university in the chat box, just for some curiosities. I'm curious. Although most of you knows the research group, I always introduce myself and EcoHubi at every opportunity, especially for those who are enjoying our live sessions for the first time. So EcoHubi is the research group on innovation ecosystem linked to UNISINOS Business School. Piqué and Bruno knows very well UNISINOS. We are located in south of Brazil, in Porto Alegre. And we hope that, Jasmina, you could visit us soon too. My name is Kadígia, but of course you can call me Kadi if it makes our conversation easier, I think. I'm professor in innovation management and qualitative methods and one of the EcoHubi leaders. And today I'm the live session chair. Let me present EcoHubiX. EcoHubiX is an initiative that emerged as an alternative to the social isolation and the closure of the university. Even though it started as a temporary activity, our community appreciated this initiative and we are doing it often. The last one was about innovation in time of crisis, and we discussed an ecosystem approach. And this is like a monthly live session that we promote to discuss with our research partners in Brazil and from abroad, different topics related to innovation management, innovation ecosystems, the role of universities. And so the theme today is about the role of universities in shaping the evolution of innovation ecosystems. And we have colleagues here from La Salle, from University of Catalunya, and also from UNICAMP. And before I give the floor to you to introduce yourselves quickly, I want to highlight that it's a great pleasure to welcome you three here to this activity of UNISINOS Business School, even at this moment, even if virtually. So for our students and all of the people that are watching us, if you have any notes, questions, or also some comments, I will check throughout the conversation, but also Nina, Rovia, and Bibiana will help me to check Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So the idea of the live is like a conversation and came from, because I saw a Piqué publication on LinkedIn where he was talking about a paper that he had just published, where Jasmina and Professor Etzkovitz are co-authors, that it's about the role of universities in the evolution of Silicon Valley. And I quickly sent a WhatsApp to Piqué to find out if they agree to talk about these results and these activities of this role of the university. And I couldn't talk about the university influence on the ecosystem without inviting Professor Bruno, who has been researching and publishing this topic for a long time and knows a lot about our reality in Brazil. So thank you all for accepting the invitation for this informal conversation. Welcome. You can introduce yourselves. Who wants to start? Please, Professor Piqué. Jasmina.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for this nice introduction. Will introduce myself. So I'm Jasmina Berbegal Mirabent, in the International University of Catalonia, located in Barcelona. And this the paper that we're presenting is part of one of my main research streams in which I'm currently investigating the role of universities, collaboration of universities with the industry, also the role of government and how to establish synergies between the actors. And other research interests in which I'm currently conducting some studies are all related to the role of universities in fostering economic growth. But I'm also investigating more in detail how to model. My background is in engineering, so I like numbers and a lot of modeling. So the paper we are presenting today and the conversation is more quantitative. So this other line in which I'm working is about modeling the production function of universities, see whether they're efficient, not efficient, and how they. I've been working at the university for 10 years, more or less. And yeah, great to be here and to meet new people and strengthen our network.
Thank you, Jasmina.
Bruno.
All right, thank you very much, Kadígia, Jasmina, and Josep for the invitation, for having this discussion today, which I think is really important. It is my main research field, so I'm biased. But anyway, I think this is a key issue to address, especially nowadays when the role of the university has been challenged in so many different instances worldwide, right? So I think this is a great opportunity. I had the chance to read the paper from Jose and Jasmina, which is very interesting. I'm sure everyone's gonna enjoy it. And I recommend everyone to read the paper if they have the chance. Anyway, I hope I can contribute and maybe you can establish some collaboration from now on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice, Bruno. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bruno, and also Kaji and Jasmina. I am Josep Piqué. Some of you knows me because I am one of the mentors of the mentor of the Pact of Innovation, the Pacto Alegre in Porto Alegre, that, as you may know, is this process of co-creation of the vision and the strategy and development of an ecosystem as a city, as a place for developing the relation between universities, companies, and government. Also, some of you know that I am president of La Salle Technova. It's an incubator and science and technology park, and I was the president of the International Association of Science Park. It means I am coming from the practitioner side of the world of the academia. It means I have been working always managing ecosystems of innovation in relation with universities. Jasmina and my person, we share different things, for instance, papers, but also we share our father. Our father, academic father, is Paco Soler Parellada, is professor was professor at the UPC, one of the referents in Catalonia in Spain, introducing the word innovation in the 70s, in the last century. And really, this is good when you have the same father. The brothers and sisters make things, and really, it was a pleasure for me to have the advice and also the coach of Jasmina developing some of the research. I think that the topic that we have today on this table is really a very appropriate topic, because at the end of the day, we have to provide and shed light about the role of the university, not just as a source of talent that is a traditional approach. We understand that the first function must be education, and education makes a clear message that is the output, the talent, and talent is it seems that is our role. But when you look and analyze in deep universities, in this case with Jasmina and also other researchers and also other people in both universities who are working in this research, we discover how important was other activities and what the strategies the universities in Silicon Valley were working, not only in a traditional way, also evolving. And it was a previous work that Jasmina and me person were working about to analyze how the ecosystems are evolving, because it seems that triple helix, it's always the same. Oh, you are doing that, I am doing that. It means that the role is clear. But in the process, we have new agents or new actions or new functions of the agents. It means that in terms of innovation and in terms of innovation ecosystems and systems, make this interaction new activities. And this is, we are in an ecosystem, and we need to know what we are doing and also what the others are doing in order to co-create this ecosystem. With Jasmina, we have this paper. I will show you right now the reference, and it's an open source. It means that you can download in a very easy way. And really, I feel that if today we can talk with Bruno about some research questions, some methodologies, and also how we analyze the results of that, could be good for whoever is doing this research as a PhD student, as a postdoc, or as a researcher, or as a master student, because at the end of the day we have a lot of work, not just analyzing Silicon Valley, also analyzing our ecosystems and also providing some elements for our presidents of universities, for the president of the Chamber of Commerce, or different policymakers, for advising them that with this reflection, with this output, they can manage and they can introduce new activities in the ecosystem and the role of the university. Perhaps we can start with some slides. Yes, we will share with Jasmina this presentation, and Bruno, I will ask you to prepare the first 3 questions because for sure you will tell, oh, but this is the topic. Did you consider? Because at the end, this is a part of research. This is one of the papers of a series of papers that we have been writing with Jasmina, and it could be interesting. But this focus is absolutely in universities. Can you see the presentation? Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
It's coming.
It's coming. Yes. Now. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. It means that we want to talk about the role of universities shaping the evolution of ecosystems of innovation. Here we have really 2 approaches. The first, the role of universities, and second, the evolution of innovation ecosystems. It means that we assume that there is an evolution in ecosystems, and we would like to discover how is this evolution and the interaction with the rest of the agents of the ecosystem. This is the detail of this paper. You can download the DOI is this one, but also we are sharing other works that we have been done with Professor Miralles and also Professor Henry Etzkovitz and Jerry Engel from UC Berkeley. This is interesting because you will see that we were analyzing different ecosystems of innovation in the case of 22at, a district of innovation in Barcelona, analyzing the evolution of the ecosystem, analyzing the evolution of the ecosystem on Silicon Valley, and also in this case, this paper is focused more in the evolution of the university inside the ecosystem. And also with Professor Jerry Engel, using the clusters of innovation theory, we were analyzing the transformation of the cities as a clusters of innovation, also very, very interesting approach. The first is the research question. We want to investigate the evolution of the role played by university in relation with the industry and government. It means that, as you can see, we are using the triple helix theory, but also we are using this theory because we want to analyze the development of the ecosystem. It means this is the agents are universities, government, and industry, but we also would like to shed light about this development. And also, on the other hand, like other ecosystems of innovation, universities are key agents. This is important. This is until now, in the last 20, 30 years, perhaps it was, and Henry Etzkovitz explained very well, no, about 2 approaches: the national approach, the public approach, the top-down approach of the government. It was the traditional approach of the government will do everything, or the traditional approach of the market will do everything. Between both industry and government, appears this concept of the triple helix, because the university is one of the key players in all of that. And not only serving the rest of the players, also could be one of the leaders of this transformation. And the questions were, how have universities in Silicon Valley developed responses to the changes that have occurred in the entrepreneurial ecosystem over the years? It means that we assume that we have had changes, and why. We had to discover why we had changes, new actors, new agents, venture capital, alumni of the universities, and also what are the drivers for these responses. We were using the triple helix theory, also the regional systems of innovation and the Entrepreneurial University. And the approach was to analyze the actions and the strategies undertaken by universities interacting with industry and government. At the end of the evidence, we could find the evidence in the actions and the strategies. And also we were combining qualitative and quantitative data, interviews, and also data that was existing in order to analyze the entrepreneurial education, the source of knowledge. It means that university has a source of knowledge. The investment activities, very interesting approach in Silicon Valley, the role of the business angels, venture capital, corporate venture, and also alumni as investors, and facilities, the platforms, the infrastructures, the science park, the incubators, and so on. During the period from 2007 until 2018, I am sure that you know very well Silicon Valley. This is the archetype of the ecosystem of innovation. It's a resulting of an organic growth. It's interesting. This is in front of, for instance, 2012. This is 2012 was a top-down decision of the city to create the district of innovation. Silicon Valley is a bottom-up process from industry cluster. Remember that California was the gold rush. It was at the end of the dreamers of the world were trying to find gold. They discovered that they didn't find the gold, and now the gold is the knowledge and the talent, the technology. This is interesting because at the end this is a culture, a behavior in this area. University of California, Berkeley, and Stanford were established a long time ago with relation with university industry collaborations. They are very old, not very old in terms of European approach, but they were starting really with high interactions with industry, for instance, Stanford Research Park and so on. And this is Stanford Industrial Park, Research Park. They changed now, but at the beginning it was the Stanford Industrial Park, where the path for attracting firms like General Electric, Hewlett Packard, IBM, or not attracting are creating, both in both sides. Also, all the fields related with the semiconductor, like Intel, but before Intel, Fairchild, and other industries were mixed also with industry of the venture capital industry. This is very important for understanding the industry for growing at the end that you can find in Silicon Valley. The Bayh-Dole Act, where the VCs become. Remember that this is a law in USA that put the intellectual property of the universities open to create new business, and also it allows to create new professionals, new animals in the ecosystems like the VC managers. And also we had several waves like the .com bubble and other bubbles, but it is interesting because it means that they had the experience to growth. At the end of the day, the growth was in a moment interrupted, but it was interesting because you are creating the culture and also the path to growth at the end of the day, and other booms that are existing now. I don't want to use my time in that, but you can see that Silicon Valley is really growing. They have different waves, and they are understanding very well the waves. And every time that you have to finish the wave, at the beginning was integrated circuits, after personal computers, internet mobile. It means that this is a change of different companies around. And also other like biotech are now like UCSF, University of California, San Francisco, and nanotech will appear. In terms of the innovation ecosystems and the role of play of the universities. Perhaps, Jasmina, you can go ahead, or I perhaps introduce the number 3, and you will go to the theoretical framework. Universities as a key actors promoting the economic development. At the end of the day, they are the source of talent and technology, two of the key elements for doing innovation, talent and technology. Universities is a primary agent. This is important. This is not just a service for the rest. It's a primary agent. And also the outcomes of the research could really provide an impact at the social and economical activities we see now with COVID, but also in other. And the knowledge has become like a commodity. Commodity in the start understood like that we have a lot of papers, a lot of knowledge, a lot of technology. The challenge is not just to create the technology. The challenge is to transform this technology in value. And that's the reason why we will need universities or entrepreneurial universities that promote that the students can be entrepreneurs transforming ideas in realities. Universities play a key role as a resource endowment with the region. This is important because what we see also in Porto Alegre, how important are UNISINOS, PUC, or Pontificia Universidad Católica, or Federal University, because they are an active contributors for the regional prosperity and competitive advantage. And also to respond to this call, universities are adding new agendas. The first function of the university is education, output talent. The second function of university research, output technology. The third function is impact, how to transfer this talent and technology to the market and impacting in the economical and social transformation. And also, this is interesting because we know that research is global for definition. Any paper that we publish is competing with the rest of the papers of the world, and when we make a contribution, we read all the contributions before our contribution, and we add any extra contribution as a part of the scientific method. This is interesting because it means we have global research in local situations, in locations. And this is like a very interesting tension. Sometimes we have top research, top technology, and the market is not using this technology. For instance, big data or blockchains or new technologies. It's interesting because the university is really a global and local player in both ways. The theoretical framework, Jasmina, just for introducing you all the research strategy. We were working with the triple helix and the leading role of the universities, and every not only in vertical, also in horizontal helix. Perhaps, Jasmina, let me introduce you, and you can take advantage of this slide and you follow, because it's good to mix our knowledge and our ideas. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for your the presentation. Have you gone so far? Here we just wanted very aware that you probably know even better than us the main theoretical frameworks that we're using. We're just putting a couple of slides to make sure that we are all speaking the same language. So first of all, the main theoretical framework which we're using is the EcoHubiX model. As Josep was saying, here related to our study is examining not only the university isolated from the other agents in the ecosystem, but on the contrary, how universities are collaborating with the other agents. And I like very much this picture we have added here in this slide, which shows, I know that there are many other ways of representing it, but taking the basic idea of Edskovich and Leitersdorf, the initial and seminal paper on the triple helix model. It's nice from here is to see that with this kind of, we have really big synergies between the different ages. We can contribute to social and cultural context. We are also doing a nice contribution to technology and improving economic growth of the territory. We're also doing this from a sustainable point of view. And in fact, the main idea here is to have our environment, our ecosystem, be sustainable over time and keep growing in an organic way. So if you can change the slide, I don't know if I can do it or you need to do this. Okay, thanks a lot.
Tell me next and I will move forward.
So then the next theoretical framework is the regional innovation systems. And here, just to point out things. First, the conceptualizations were more focused on national innovation systems, regional innovation systems with the literature of Unbal, Freeman. But what's important from here is that we have now new conceptualizations where innovation matter, but also the local dimension, as Josep was saying before, about this mix of being local, being global, but also being locally. This idea of proximity, density, concentration of resources is something that is increasingly gaining importance. We will see how this evolves with the pandemic we have now, but this was the trend that we were observing of being always very connected to each other and spaces that facilitate this kind of interaction. The last theoretical framework or the last stream of research we looked at in order to build our theoretical framework was the literature about Entrepreneurial University. The idea here is that universities need to foster this innovation and creativity and produce this shift in the culture of people. So which kind of actions and thinking are Entrepreneurial universities expected to perform? We have here signal different dimensions in which Entrepreneurial universities are expected to contribute. It's not only about generating and transferring knowledge, but going a step further. In which sense? First, human capital, because there are relevant sources of new talent and cutting-edge technology. And with this human capital, we can start talking about the idea of cooperation, having different people think their ideas and at the end building something superior than just working alone. Then we have this urban dimension. And this is quite linked to the previous slide about this idea of also the local, what's happening in my neighborhood is relevant. So it's about developing land and buildings for institutions in the territory. We have the economic dimension. Entrepreneurial universities are expected to provide science, technology, labs, and entrepreneurs in order to feed this ecosystem, which at the end is expected to bring economic growth to the region. And finally, the social dimension. So it's not just creating profitable business, but also businesses that take into account the challenges that society is facing nowadays. So this is pretty much our framework. With all these ideas and having in mind that our main purpose is to analyze the different strategies or the trends that universities are contributing to keep the environment dynamic in terms of innovation and creating new companies, we focus the purpose of this study. We focus on the case of Silicon Valley. From Silicon Valley, we selected the three main universities, which are the entry institutions, very well known probably for all of you: UC Berkeley, UC San Francisco, and Stanford University. Though it's true that San Francisco is more in the north, but many studies say that Silicon Valley also, San Francisco can also be included in the system. In fact, we have seen that the prices are increasingly rising a lot in the Silicon Valley area. And the importance of the city, many startups and companies located originally in Silicon Valley and Palo Alto are moving towards the metropolis, which is San Francisco. And the period that we're analyzing, sorry, here there is a type. So we look for a period that covers 12 years, 2007 to 2008. Have 12 years that we're investigating. So, what kind of data are we analyzing? We rely on different sources of information. First are web pages of the universities, reports, leaflets, releases, explaining different activities and strategies, programs or incentives from the university side. So let's keep in mind that our focus is the university. So we want to see how universities are contributing to dynamize the ecosystem. So all these kind of initiatives launched the universities, and we relied on information from the universities. Also, people from our team conducted some site visits. Also relied on some documents, official reports from the technology transfer offices of these 3 universities, and of course, academic publications that have already discussed about this topic and the evolution of Silicon Valley. The content of interest, I already discussed this. Exactly, thank you. So it was looking at initiatives, programs, and incentives, started or finished, or even approved during the period under analysis. Technology transfer is an important dimension that entrepreneurial universities are expected to perform. But we also looked at more like numeric and qualitative data. And particularly, we look at information about research expenditure, innovation disclosures, and licenses, and also licensing and royalties from new products and startups. And in order to even have more information and be more informed about what we were analyzing, we conducted semi-structured interviews and that were conducted in March and July 2017 in order to try to investigate and scrutinize the reasons for shifts in the strategy of universities. To do this, we not only asked from the university to attend and do these interviews, but we also wanted to see how the university and the government were seeing the activities launched by universities. So this is we also conducted some interviews with business angels, corporate investors, and so on. So this is pretty much the how to formalize research design for this study. Going to the results, we have classified the results in three different sections. Let's say the first one, I think that the numbers here are enough. You can have a more detailed look at the main idea here is to compare the numbers in terms of performance on technology transfer activities in 2007 and 2018. Of course, many things have happened during this period that changed probably there was a in 2012 and then it went down and so on. You can see the numbers are quite stable and Stanford is mainly outstanding in almost all the dimensions. But I think that it's better to put more attention on this slide. So taking into account all the documents and the information provided by the people we interviewed, we try to classify the strategies or let's say paths that universities have embarked on in order to fit the innovation ecosystem. And we classify all these initiatives, programs, incentives in 4 different blocks, which are the ones you have listed here. So let's have a detailed look at the first one, entrepreneurial education. So this is something that many universities have done. We can say that probably this was one of the first initial steps. And the main trend in the 2007, 2008 beginning years in our period of analysis. We know that the business step embodies far more risk than the invention itself. So this is the original situation. But if we want to transfer this technology, this new innovation to the marketplace, we need some skills that sometimes researchers, scientists do not have because we're more about doing research, but about selling our ideas and transferring it to society. So having this into account, we can classify strategies, 3 different strategies with the idea of educating in entrepreneurial skills, which are listed here. This one is to go beyond traditional management and business-related disciplines and also teach entrepreneurship in other, let's say, more technical disciplines, something that all universities have now copied, and I'm sure that you are also doing this in your university. Another strategy to connect from different profiles and disciplines. In this sense, these universities have different programs, most of them inserted in the curriculums, so it's not just something independent that you have to do. It's not mandatory. No, it's mandatory. The idea is to start working with people that have a different profile. In this sense, we saw that there are many programs that combine students from law and business, students from engineering and business, or from medicine and business, among others. The last strategy fall within this first category, the creation or the design of additional events. In this case, these are the main course, are expected to promote the acquisition of entrepreneurial skills, because students are working in a team, students and the researchers, not just students, working together in a team, and they are competing with business competitions, link competitions, awards, or programs or clubs. So it's about creating this idea that I need to work with someone else with different expertise than the one I have. This was the first block. Moving to the next one, sources of knowledge. We know that universities are sources of knowledge, and this is something that is out of discussion. And identify 3 different strategies that universities are following in order to promote themselves as important sources of knowledge. The first one would be promoting the more classical way of companies, with cooperation agreements, licensing of new technology, R&D agreements. So this is mainly about interactions with existing firms. And mainly these connections arise from the personal network of the researcher. Another strategy that within this category would be helping companies to identify new technologies. And this is like university offering advanced services to companies and having some researchers, a team of scientists, even of students, guiding the company into competitive phases of development. So they're giving access to the talent and education and also the resources available at the university. It's more about consultancy at the pre-competitive stage. So before starting thinking about commercialization, the initial phases of the viable product. And finally, and this is quite related to the previous one, is the creation of multidisciplinary programs. The students from different disciplines work together in a project, and typically this project is sponsored by a company. It may also happen that this project or this competition or program is also sponsored by someone who's providing investment in case of the technology or the invention is successful and can be to move forward and go to the next stages. The next the category would be investment activity. What do we mean by investment activity? So what we observe from the analysis of different evidences is that universities are increasingly getting closer to investors. By investors, I mean business angels, VC funds, and corporate investors. So it's going a step further than just entrepreneurial education. In this aspect, universities have created networks of investors, introduced them to new students or researchers. So in this regard, in recent years, there has been a proliferation of different types of funds. This kind of funds have disrupted the market for VC funds. And here we have 3 main types that relate to the university. The first one is university-based VC funds, which offer a direct investment to entrepreneurs. Technologies have been created or in partnership with the university. So this is more directly to the entrepreneur. We have student venture funds with also economic support. Students, entrepreneurial students. Also, CIST, so the company which offers these funds, is also assisting the students with training and giving some mentorship. Finally, the third type, VC funds with the student ambassador programs created by large corporations. And these programs, as we mentioned here, the idea is to have alumni, different students, and to involve different, say, generations of students in order to keep attached to them and give this sense of unity and working together, keeping in contact with the university. Finally, last category is about creating facilities, about spaces, incubators, and accelerated programs. This is because there is huge evidence about it's important to provide this physical space for interactions to take place. Again, we identify different strategies that can be classified within this category. And with the creation of new policies of the university, so this is mainly regulatory framework for intellectual property protection. Another strategy is the creation or update of infrastructure such as OTLs, business incubators, accelerators. Finally, which the later one is probably the most novel one, would be law firms partnering with university-related incubators. So in this case, law firms have all the experience about the administrative terms and all the juridical aspects that need to be taken into account, and they give free orientation to new ventures. Also, sometimes these kind of cooperations between the law firm, the university, are also mainly launched by faculties of law. So they can also introduce their students from the very beginning in this work.
Very, very good, Jasmina, because with these results, we have now, I'm sorry, can you finalize the results and I will go to the conclusions? Go ahead.
Very quickly. This last slide is about the drivers that we have able to classify these 4 categories, and now we ask the drivers behind these categories. You can distinguish between external forces and internal forces. Internal forces, university responses to complex and uncertain conditions. So we have seen this problem, and we organically, without any external body, and because I'm committed with having our university really well connected with the territory and contributing to entrepreneurship, university creates new programs. We also have these external forces, and not surprisingly, these external forces come from 2 other helixes of the model. Interventions from the government, movements that instigated by the university, that push the university to some kind of activity. This is what keeps all the ecosystem in a continuous and dynamic movement.
Good. Very good, because with that, we really can make some conclusions, taking advantage of this evidence. By the way, you will find in the paper all the evidence where we could understand the role of education and entrepreneurship, the role of technology transfer, all about facilities, and also all about investment. This is interesting because it means that we have clear actions, programs that are working in this direction. As a conclusion, the innovative and sustainable economic development of Silicon Valley not only depends on the presence of the strong universities, but on how they interact and overlap roles with other triple helix agents. This is interesting because if you find like mutual strategic goals, or also triple helix interaction represents a unique opportunity to recover the economic downtown. This is important for creating new jobs and promote and the economic development in all the region. Important this concept of how the university was a key role, not only in the bubble, also recovering economic downtown. The 3 universities have taken different paths. The Stanford developed a close connection with emerging technical industry in the region. It means that the region with companies like Intel and so on, they had very good relation, and it was the strategy, the path of this work. UC was more close with the link with the government. It seems that we say that in Silicon Valley, the government is not really doing nothing, but really is doing a lot of things, but not just at the beginning. It's investing in programs like I-Corps for promoting new technology-based startups, or for transferring technology to the market. And USCSF was also one of the key agents developing the biotechnological industry in Silicon Valley, in this case. In terms of the qualitative studies to empirical studies, illustrate how universities contribute to an ecosystem of innovation and its evolving role over time. It means that we saw in all the quantitative study how they were evolving. The university is doing different things, as Jasmina told before. promoting the accelerators and incubators, or promoting the venture capital funds coming from the university. It means that universities, they have their own venture capital funds, or alumni or entrepreneurial so entrepreneurs are creating investment funds that are investing in some universities. Evaluate the quality of the initiatives undertaken by universities. It means that this is not about a lot of things, it's about the quality, it's about the impact of these solutions. And also, in terms of the extend the geographical scope and conduct additional research in other locations. It means that we see that for future research avenue, we can really understand if with this approach, we can really do in other locations. We also invite other people to investigate cases of failure, because it's Silicon Valley was running, but perhaps we will find other people in other places that they were not doing a good job, the role of the university, and also comparing studies between emerging and consolidated ecosystems of innovation. And this is future research avenues will help researchers and other people to work in this big field, the field of the universities, in terms of the ecosystem of innovation, the role of the universities in the ecosystem of innovation. Perhaps this is enough for now, and we can really make an open discussion. We were delivering a lot of knowledge and a lot of things, and perhaps you can rewrite or read the paper. But let's perhaps open the discussion with Bruno and Kadígia for this research.
Lovely, nice to hear your perspectives, and I quickly noted some keywords here, like support, entrepreneurial education, technology transfer, and also collaboration with other organizations and agencies, facilities, and so on. And I think we could advance a little in this discussion to enjoy your experiences. For our audience, if you have questions or comments, put in the chat box. And thank you for being here. We have a lot of several masters and PhD students from UNISINOS. We have José Clenis from Americana, Clarice with Pacto Alegre, Fernando from Sorocaba, São Paulo, Paola Schaeffer from UNICAMP, Hernani from São Paulo, from Uninove, also Marcela Amaral, thank you for being here. That is from Triple Helix Research Group Brazil, from Universidade Federal Fluminense. UFF, yes. And so, Piqué and Jasmina studied universities from Silicon Valley and suggested other comparative studies at the end of the paper. Bruno studied a lot the Brazilian context, and you, Piqué, you have a lot of experience in different continents. To start our discussion, I want to ask you in few words, what is the global role of the universities in ecosystems? And the second question for our discussion is, do you think that the role of universities change in different territories? What change, and in each way, if change? So up to you. Maybe we can start by Bruno now.
Hi, Kadígia. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jose and Jasmina, for the presentation. Very, very insightful. Definitely. I'm going to try to address these points briefly. I think they're very interesting. They're actually research lines. If you look into them, you can build a project on each of these questions. So first, on the global role of universities, I think one thing we have to get straight in this discussion, which is really important, is when we talk about universities, we're talking about highly heterogeneous agents, right? So when we say entrepreneurial university, sometimes it gives the idea that All universities are relatively similar, and most importantly, that you can establish strategic orientations at the university level the same way you do in a company, even a large company, which is not directly applicable to the context of universities, because everyone who works or inhabits the environment of a university knows that it is a highly chaotic environment, in the sense that people who work there, researchers, faculty, they have autonomy, and that autonomy needs to be respected. And more than that, not everyone who works in academia has this entrepreneurial profile, and that's something also that needs to be respected. And I'm saying that because this is a very pressing issue. We've been seeing articles published in Research Policy, Nature, Science about the levels of anxiety in academics. And perhaps one thing is that we're demanding everything from everyone. So we want everyone to be a great scientist, to excel at teaching, and to transfer knowledge to companies, to become an academic entrepreneur. And that's a highly complicated thing. I believe, answering your question, that universities have this role of transferring knowledge, also of combining knowledge. And this is really important. It's not just how universities shape the evolution of the ecosystem, but rather how the ecosystem co-evolves. So you mentioned Paola Schiffer, who is watching us, and she's working with me and other people on a piece of paper about a piece of research, sorry, about how you have this bidirectional or this mutualism situation between companies and universities, and that takes me to the second question about the different territories. If you do not have, and this is a large body of literature demonstrates, and when you do not have this this coupling, this connection between the university and the economic environment, then the university has a marginal or no contribution to even to create. It's not just to evolve the innovation ecosystem, it's to generate an innovation ecosystem. And this is also a really important thing. Sometimes we talk about ecosystems too easily, and it's not every single location that has this ecosystemic dynamics. So this is really important thing to have this trait, is that we do not know much about the inception of innovation ecosystems, how they come to be. It's when we talk about the role of universities, it is fundamental, it is strategic. It's not a silver bullet, it's not a panacea. If you instate a university in a given territory, let's say a peripheral economic system, you cannot take for granted that this university will create knowledge, transfer knowledge, and generate an ecosystem if you do not have this demand for interactions with other agents.
Jasmine, I don't know if you want to start, or perhaps I can start.
To mention something, that I really like your intervention, Bruno. But I think right here in saying that universities are highly heterogeneous. In fact, now it's quite related to the other research line in which I'm working, because we're seeing that we cannot put universities all in the same way. Each of them has a different orientation, a different strategic positioning. This is what definitely shaping the way they are interacting with agents. However, it's true that universities have missions, so let's say teaching, research, and knowledge transfer or mission, with however you want. Even to the teaching mission, there are a lot of initiatives, as we have seen in the examples we examine in other contexts, universities teaching and engaging students, they can still contribute at a different level. Of course, we have levels of commitment and possibilities, also given the resources. Also at the teaching level and at the more basic research dimension, contribution of universities is still present there. So, and what I think that the next for these universities is to really figure out and not excel at everything because too much, and we don't have the resources, and also we don't have the competences. I'm not an entrepreneur, but I'm very good at research, or I'm very good at teaching, but not at trying to sell my business. However, from our position, I think the important here is try to figure out how to maximize the potential of the university. And this is what's very tricky.
Yeah. No, I'm following.
There's room for making this contribution.
Yeah, and following this idea, when Kaji, you talk about what are the roles of the universities? We know that it's education, output is talent, research, output is technology, or could be technology, but the two traditional contributions. We in Spain, we had an evolution of the university at the beginning, were more education oriented, after that research oriented, but in the third function, it depends on the previous ecosystem, how we can interact with them. It means we can serve the industry, clusterizing and developing value chains of innovation with science, technology, industry, and market. But in some of the cases, we can create from scratch new technologies and new industries. And this is very interesting because this is a bottom-up strategy, a different way of doing. And for doing that, you will need to create new behaviors of the students. And also that's the reason why in Silicon Valley, they are educating entrepreneurship with all the students, not only the students of business, or not only the students of technology, of engineering, also the students, as Jasmina told before, of law or medicine, health, or different sectors. And that is a very cross education, and also combine different profiles because you need to work together. About the role of professors, what they can do. We were discovering, and also with Professor Jerry Engel, he's the director of the National Science Foundation Academy, the program that is promoting the National Science Foundation with the ICORs for stimulating the technology transfer with or through new technology-based startups. Usually the PI is not the entrepreneur. There are PhD students or master students, but the PI is always in the shadow, sometimes with some shares of the company or some incentive, but who is leading, who is developing the business hypothesis. This is not it's not a research hypothesis, it's a business hypothesis to validate if this technology could make sense in some sector. They are students that with a good education and coach, they can really discover what applications, new applications, because the challenge of any ecosystem is the concept of, from my point of view, of absorptive capacity. You have research of big data in UNISINOS, and you knock the door of companies around the Porto Alegre and say, okay, do you need big data? Perhaps they will tell you, I need a website, I don't need big data. The problem is that we have high technology, global technology, with a local demand that is not sophisticated. That's the reason why we cannot wait the market. We can transform the industry, we can transform the economy, sending new technology-based startups to the market. This is like a process of discovering. At the end of the day, the startups are the more sophisticated element or agent that we have in the ecosystem for discovering what's next. This is important. It means that imagine that in UNISINOS, all the students, they decide to create one startup. This is a change in the paradox. This is not about job opportunities, it's about you will create a new startup. Some of them will die, the company, not the person, but they will have a good experience. And after that, this is a new behavior, how to capture, how to identify new opportunities and to create. But if we create the startups, and that's the big message of this paper and in Silicon Valley, but we don't connect, we don't have the first money at the beginning of this path to growth, we will not have Series B or Series A or venture capital and corporate venture. It means how important are the business angels. Professor Henry Edgecliffe talked about the university angels, alumni that is near the dorms. We were very surprised with Jasmina discovering investors, not of investors in students that are in the dorm, are sleeping in the university. I mean, that's very interesting. If you wait until the startup is out, perhaps for the investors, it's very late. They want to be inside the classrooms, inside the labs, inside the reality, because, for instance, Dropbox was created in a dorm. This is the kind of disruptive innovation in front of incremental innovation when it's coming from technology base. We are working with Jasmina in another paper about that, no? The disruptive innovation in front incremental innovation. When you have a market demand side, usually you have an incremental, because you have a problem, after that you are solving the problem. That's good. But the good thing is when you have technologies that are solving in a disruptive way problems of the past or new problems of the future, for instance, cybersecurity. This is important because, Bruno, asking about the role of professors, I feel that the good thing is that they could be good educators, good researchers, but they don't need to be good entrepreneurs, but they have to create an environment, perhaps inside the classrooms. It means if we educate everybody, but also in the special programs. For instance, the I-Course program, the incubators or the accelerators programs, that in 10 weeks, they transform ideas in MVPs. In 10 weeks, it's very interesting. They are transforming one technology in a business model. But the more important is not just to discover the business model. The more important thing is that the students, the entrepreneurs, are validating if they are entrepreneurs. Because in 10 weeks, you are not creating a new business model. It means that you don't have the opportunity, you have the approach to have 100 interviews and interact and modelize the business model. This is important with for instance, the program I-Corps, because it's not just the idea to create a new startup. It's the idea to create entrepreneurs in the ecosystem, to create a behavior on the entrepreneurs. And that's important because that is a second approach. And UNISINOS, you had the Tecnocinos in San Leopoldo. I have been several times there. As you know, I have been in a lot of places in Rio Grande do Sul, also in Pelotas, and Gramado and Lajeado. I mean, in Lajeado. Well, I know very well.
So better than me.
Yeah. And the idea is when you take advantage of the university, Jasmina told at the beginning, transforming the land around the university. If you have a university, you have talent and technology. If you put a science park near the university, this is an urban transformation. This is important also, because if not, okay, I have an idea, but I don't have an incubator, I don't have a place to be. That's the reason why in one of the elements that we discovered was the facilities, physical and logical facilities. Okay, you are not just a student, you are just a person that will need to connect with investors or to create a team for this idea. That's perhaps one of the elements. And also, Bruno, answering, because you were asking not only two questions, we're asking a lot of things. The challenge of the inception. If you look at another paper that we had with Jasmina about the evolution of 22ad, we were defining 4 phases in order to create an ecosystem: inception, launching, growing, and maturity. It was for a model of brownfield transformation. Now we're looking for a new approach that is looking for greenfield transformation, a new district of innovation that is starting from scratch. But this is interesting because we need 4 phases, and if the inception you are not introducing the university with all the dimensions, I am sure you will not have an ecosystem of innovation. You have a good financial district, a good business district, a good environment, but not a real ecosystem of innovation. 22ad was created with universities and we were inviting universities to be inside the district because we had to transform. In this case, it was a urban transformation. We had to transform 200 hectares in the city center of Barcelona. The other approach, when you have universities in the land, in the cities, sometimes they don't have any interaction with the companies, with the land, with nothing. They are like ivory castles, I don't know, of knowledge, no? But this is not enough for transforming the urban land and also the economic and the social transformation.
Oh, really nice. We have some questions that arrived from Ricardo from URGS and also from Josi. Nice to see you here, Josi. So the first one is from Josi. Have you found anything about the role played by military investment on the university for research and development of technologies and their applications? This is one of the questions. If you have some examples, or have you seen something based on military investment? And Ricardo from URGS asked about. He said that human capital appears as fundamental to the process of innovation and development. In startups, it is likewise. What have you seen regarding the process of formation and development of teams in startups? It's in a different way of our discussion, but just to check if you have some...
Yep. Jasmina, do you want to answer? Yes, in terms of military, absolutely, the sophisticated demand is one of the key elements of an ecosystem of innovation. If you have not only the demand side, also some resources and funding for solving a challenge, with that you will develop new technologies, and with new technologies we'll apply with these solutions. For instance, go to the moon, or go to to Iraq. Let me tell you in two ways. But I'm so sad to tell you that yes, the military is one of the sources in some sectors, and you cannot understand Silicon Valley at the origin, not now, at the origin, because Stanford was really solving in the Second War some key solutions in terms of telecommunication. Hewlett-Packard and so on, they were trying to solve, in this case, was a sophisticated demand. But let me tell you about this word, sophisticated demand. If you find in your ecosystem a customer that is asking you something that is not existing in the world, and you take advantage of this local dimension as a global competitive advantage, your army could be the health, your army could be the food, your army could be whatever. You find COVID at the end of the day is also sophisticated demand, and can really create new solutions. It means that the challenges are one of the key elements in ecosystem, and how can you solve these challenges, and also how can you fund? The funding is very important in terms of public funding. It's important, but this is, from my point of view, the big lesson in all about not just the military, it's the sophisticated demand as a part of the ecosystem. And perhaps you can talk about human capital, because Jasmina knows very well Jasmina?
Just related to the previous question, I would like to add that you have this sophisticated demand, really interesting, and in innovation ecosystems, you really saw it, that sophisticated demand is now oriented for solving a specific issue, then can be transformed and adapt, and be like the starting point for industries, sectors, and increasing the knowledge, other dimensions that without this sophisticated demand, solutions would be impossible to explore up.
Yeah.
As for the human capital, you were saying, correct me if I didn't write down
the creation of the teams. The
individual is key. Is one of the key. In order to, if we don't have human capital, we cannot start anything. The importance of teams, and this is perhaps to observe in the case of Silicon Valley.
I think an interesting example of the use of military money for research and innovation in Brazil is the case of the São José dos Campos cluster, where we have the headquarters of Embraer, the Brazilian aircraft manufacturer, which is, I think, Jose and Jasmina brought the notion of the qualified demand, which I think is really important. I just wanted to complement this, where it's not only that it poses challenges for researchers, it's also patient money. And that's really important. And that's not only military, but governmental money in general. It's really helpful for some disruptive innovations because it's patient. You do not expect a return within 6 months or even 6 years. And sometimes it takes decades. And when you have this kind of investment, it helps because you can go through the entire pipeline of this new technologies. I think as per the formation of teams and startups, there's if Ricardo wants to get in touch with me, I have some literature on this. It's an important issue because usually entrepreneurs are seen as jacks of all trades, as they say it in English. And most of the time you do not have those competences in one individual. So as Jasmina demonstrated pretty clearly, you need to complement the capabilities of the individual with other individuals, and then you have these teams. In the United States, and this is very much the case in the Silicon Valley, and not so much elsewhere in the world, much more in the United States, you have the strong figure of the surrogate entrepreneur for university spin-offs. So you have the scientist or the student, and he launches the spin-off, and he has the scientific knowledge and the technical expertise, but he does not have the business knowledge. So then you hire someone, the surrogate person, to run the company from the business perspective. You have cases, of course, in other countries, but in the United States, you have this culture of passing the management of the company on to someone who has this market skills, and this is really important.
Nice. Your approach. I have 3 questions here, and I will receive just one more. And because of our time, and also to respect your time, because Normally we have maximum 1 hour of discussion, but today we will have a little bit more because it's very interesting. So Marcelo from the Triple Helix Research Group, Brazil, is asking, I will share with you 3 questions and maybe each of one can take one of them. Mm-hmm. So first one is it possible to apply this methodology, the methodology of the paper, I think, to compare Silicon Valley to other innovation ecosystems in the USA or across the world, like Porto Alegre and Barcelona? The second one is, do you think that this comparison will find common or key aspects that are relevant to the creation and development of these ecosystems? And the third one is, how do you see the concept of districts of innovation used in the USA, areas of innovation used much more in Europe, innovation habitats and innovation ecosystems? Are they the same thing? Are they similar? What do you think about it?
Jasmina, do you want to start with the methodology? But
okay. Well,
and just for our audience, just one more question.
Okay.
About the methodology. So many who have followed the case study approach, so gathering information from different places, angulating it in order to make sure that what we found in one source is reliable. So we are comparing with the same information provided by the university. It's pretty similar when we ask the same question from another perspective. So I guess the methodology is something that can be used for sure in other contexts. And the only thing here is that for analyzing all this data, you can use sophisticated softwares that do like this kind of semantic analysis of the text, and you can code it, identify keywords. So my perspective would be the methodology can be followed for sure, but in the interviews, and what might be different is encoding these documents and trying to classify. We can start from the output to obtain from our research. I don't want to ask the second question, which is if we will find some common key aspects between the different cases. Methodology, by what it's what we understand, what a methodology is, sure it can be. So, in fact, other studies that we've done with Josep, methodology is pretty similar. In these cases, we relied on both qualitative and quantitative data, trying to identify indicators and compare it. Sometimes the kind of information that you will find in one scenario and another one will be different. And this is something that we point out in our analysis, because at the beginning, we wanted to compare many things from the 3 universities. And at the end, each of universities reported differently. Yeah. UC Berkeley and UC San Francisco, they are both from the University of California system, but still the way they provided some information was different, so it was not that straightforward.
That's a challenge of the data. But in any case, very interesting question of Marcelo Amaral. Yeah. About that, we have another paper with Jasmina analyzing districts of innovation around Brazil. We were analyzing 4 districts, and we were comparing with the 22@ as a control case. Really, Silicon Valley could be a control case, is one of the cases. In terms of districts of innovation, 22@ is the global reference of districts, and in that case, we were analyzing, comparing 22@ with other districts in Brazil. Following this idea, we can do Silicon Valley as a control case and doing the case study in different other different regions, or like Porto Alegre, or like Research Triangle Park, or in Barcelona. We can really use the same methodology. Perhaps here, and also Bruno was asking before about the inception moment, growing and so on. Perhaps the challenge here is the starting point. Really, because when you are analyzing an ecosystem, you're analyzing an ecosystem where in a moment of the history, and it's not the same when you're comparing something that is growing. Barcelona in the year 2000 was nothing. was starting. Now, 20 years later, after different policies, role of universities, 28 and so on, was the European Capital of Innovation and so on. I mean, the challenge here is, what are you comparing and in what moment? Because you have to compare Inception with Inception, not growing with Inception, because if not, you will compare not in a different way, in a bad way, because you are not comparing in the same phases. That is my only consideration. Bruno, I don't know if you want to add something, because perhaps in this, with your experience, you can also add some light about how to do this comparative analysis or whatever.
Yes, thank you, Jose. Answering Marcelo. Hi, Marcelo. Answering your question, I think you will find one main challenge. I want to state this first, state again, because Jasmina already said that. Well, and Jose confirmed. One main challenge is that we hardly have the similar data to compare even institutions within the same ecosystem. And then it becomes even harder when you move to different countries, and that's true for most of the world. So it's really hard to compare even within countries. So this is a big challenge, because we lack the data, especially for the case of ecosystems, because it is really important to address relational data, how agents connect with each other. And that's not usual traditional economic indicators, right? So how do the agents connect? That makes it really challenging to establish this comparison. Nonetheless, in the case of Brazil, we tried some, and we used other ecosystems as benchmarks, such as Silicon Valley. From literature, we didn't use it in the methodology, but we did find some key aspects that are aligned with this dominant models. It was ecosystems of entrepreneurship. It wasn't ecosystems of innovation per se. It was focused on the entrepreneurial event. And one of the key findings is the role of the research universities. They are basically always there. When you have thriving entrepreneurial ecosystems, universities are there, because this is interesting. They create new technologies, disruptive technologies. Jose mentioned, and there's a paper I took note from. It's a working paper from Quatraro and Scandura that deals with the unrelated variety of academic entrepreneurship. And this is evolutionary economic geography. So you have the related variety when the university creates something that is already associated with the economic system, the local economic system. And then you have unrelated variety, which is the university creating something new that goes beyond the specialization of the region. And that's a good thing. It can be a good thing. And universities do that. You have several academic entrepreneurs that they transfer knowledge that it's not connected to the current economic structure, but instead it creates a new approach that guides the economic system towards this evolutionary path, which is something that's really important for the region not to get locked in a specific trajectory.
Something more? I have the last question now. Guilherme, nice to see you here. Guilherme from Federal University, from NITEC, the research group. Guilherme said, I'm just wondering if the role of universities in urban innovation ecosystem changes over time. What is the trigger for this change? In addition, what does the university need to make this change?
Okay, that's good. Perhaps we can take advantage of one of the external and internal forces, no? And because at the end of the day, the triggers means why change. It could change because the president decided to change, but sometimes the president decides things and the university is not following the president, not only in Brazil, in any university. It depends on the governance. But for instance, in terms of incentive, if you have money for technology transfer, or you have money for creation of new startups, it can create triggers. For instance, in Catalonia, we had the trampolines was a policy of the regional government for creating incubators in universities. It was a clear incentive, paying people for doing this job, creating startups in universities. Or other policy was in the year 2000 and 2010, the Spanish government put a lot of money creating science parks around the university. It means that it was an infrastructure facility. This is one way. In the case of Silicon Valley, perhaps they were not investing in hard factors, but they are co-investing some startups, or they have some programs from the SBIR or SBIR, programs for incentivate the technology transfer from the university to the small and medium companies or to the companies. It means that the triggers, if you understand the nature of the interaction, the government can put money, but also the industry can put the, challenges. This is a real interaction, but don't forget the internal trigger. And this is interesting because Jasmina was explaining the internal forces. One thing is that you are moving because others are moving. For instance, venture capital are knocking the door of your university and say, I would like to invest in your student. Well, I have an interaction with that, no? But on the other hand, also are internal forces, no? As Jasmina told before, could be different programs, business plan competitions. Imagine that you have a professor that say, okay, let's go to create a business campus teacher, or business plan in agro-food. Oh, or yeah, defining the cluster, or defining, at the end of the day, you can put this, take advantage of the internal energy, for instance, also promoting clubs of entrepreneurs inside the university. At the end of the day, you have different tools that can really combine the internal forces and the external drivers or forces. Jasmina, if you want to add something about that, could be.
I think you explained it very well. Just that something that even with the external and the internal forces, we can distinguish between those that changes or those triggers that grow organically that do it inorganically. By organically, I mean that it's something internal from the university, the individual, without the being or responding to specific demand from the dean or from the vice rector or whatever. So it's something that, because I am committed with this, I want to contribute, and this is something that organically emerges, and this is why I'm going to be involved in, I don't know, creating a program, putting together the students from different faculties. Inorganically means that we need someone external, not external, but not at the, something like mandatory or highly suggested that you should do this in order, or when you have someone calling you and saying, knocking at the door, I would like you to start doing something with me, and then it's something that it's not because you want to do this, but something that comes to you, and of course you respond to it.
Yeah,
so
interesting, this concept of organic and inorganic. For instance, in la Universidad Federal de Rio Grande do Sul, they created, the students promoted and created the Fondo Centenario. Fondo Centenario is a program that they are trying to ask money from alumni to invest in them. It was not a top-down decision. It was really students, not PhD students, no, students of undergraduate students. They were asking, okay, let's go to move. The challenge here is how to help these flowers to grow, or these opportunities to grow. If you, nothing, no, you don't do nothing that change our status quo. It means that you as a university can allow or can avoid. That's also a way of management. If everything is a top-down decision, it means that the sun decides what will happen tomorrow. That is also important in terms of management. I don't know if, Bruno, you want to add something in this idea.
Yeah, exactly on that idea, actually. Thank you, Jose. And this is the thing. You need this organic change, and what you should have from the top down is the facilitation. That what we see oftentimes in Brazil and in other countries, of course, is particularly in public institutions, is that researchers, this is PhD students, master's students, undergrads, professors, everyone, They are basically evaluated in several universities according to an ancient way of seeing the university, focused solely on scientific science. So we've seen cases here in Campinas where professors they ceased to engage in industry because they had so much internal pressure to publish and their research with the company couldn't be published because of confidential agreements, that they began doing only research which was not their main interest, and they stopped collaborating with industry. So this is a case of an academic who has this entrepreneurial identity pretty clear, and this is an important individual within the university, and his role in transferring knowledge, I believe, should be facilitated and not regulated in the sense of telling him what to do. I think this level of flexibility could be very important for the university to adapt more easily to this external demand.
Nice. So what an amazing opportunity to discuss ecosystems, universities. We are talking about new ways of teaching, new roles for staff, new ways for combining knowledge, new ways for creating environments, about relational capital. And I think this is not like a cake recipe that we can organize in a list to give to our students and to our audience. So based on the quality of our audience, we have here PhD students and also master students. I want to ask to you just one research question that could be interesting to develop a thesis research in this field, like using the role of universities in innovation ecosystem, or just in the evolution of innovation ecosystems, to give some ideas, to give some insights for someone that is here looking for the question that could save some life. After that, we will finish. So please, who wants to start? Jasmina, please. Can you give your insight for us?
I think that there are thousands of questions. In fact, in our last slide, we included a couple of issues that we would like to explore. Having more quantitative data, this is something that makes our the results of the investigation much solid, although exactly, thank you for conducting more quantitative studies. But again, the problem here is with having available that. Me, perhaps if I had to choose one, I would suggest investigating cases of failure. Why? Because we are so, we typically investigate only cases of success, but as I don't know if it was Bruno or Josep that mentioned before, it's important to fail. From failure, you can learn a lot. And my guess is that we're missing a lot of knowledge behind all those cases. We're not that successful, and we can learn a lot from them. So I would recommend and encourage potential PhD students to investigate cases of failure.
Bruno, thank you, Jasmina.
Oh, all right. This is a lot of pressure. Come up with only one.
God. You are not used to have pressure?
Yeah, lately more than usual. But anyway, I think one very, very interesting issue to explore in this context is related to the micro processes of the entrepreneurial university. We'll look at the level of individuals. I think this is to understand how the individuals become or not become embedded with the innovation ecosystem. But this seems pretty simple, but it's not. So you have a large amount of literature in psychology that addresses how the academic has a very particular, very clear sort of identity. And that most of the time, this is not connected to the entrepreneurial identity. So you have, oftentimes you have this conflict. So understanding how this individual, this academic individual who got into an academic, a scientific career, becomes someone oriented towards commercialization. I think this process of becoming an academic entrepreneur is really important research avenue.
Thank you, Bruno.
Okay, good. Yes, as you were talking about the question and what is the challenge of the PhD student and so on, here you can follow the ideas of Jasmina for next and future lines, but also I understand that one of the challenges that we have now in Porto Alegre is how you are creating a new phenomenon. That is, the dimension is not that just the university. The ecosystem is the city in relation with universities, with the government and the industry. It means in terms of unit of analysis, but also in terms of the scope. No, sometimes we talk about the role of the university, but it's not one university alone. In the case of Porto Alegre, you have the alliance of universities working together and developing a common agenda. This is, and you have also some researchers here in Porto Alegre that are doing research about the concept of the pack of innovation, how you are managing an ecosystem, not just because it's co-living, let me tell you, in the same place, it's because are co-sharing the same vision and the same strategy. This is something very interesting. The governance of the ecosystems is one of the challenges that we have now, and whoever is going to do a research on that, it could be interesting because, for instance, in terms of the technology parks, we know now that things happen outside the walls of the science and technology parks. What it means, the traditional walls in terms of, okay, this is my park, this is the wall, I am working internal. It means how these interactions are between the agents inside the walls and agents outside, and how is the economic development or the economy developing around that. And second, it's about global connections. I feel that we need to know and to discover more with the theory of clusters of innovation, superclusters of innovation. What is the impact of the mobility of researchers and students between our ecosystems? Because at the end of the day, when we have PhD students, visiting professors, we promote that our researchers, students are abroad. It makes like connections or weak connections, but it will be strong connections. This is important in order to understand how we can take advantage of the role of the universities, not just as local actors, are like a hubs or connectors with other ecosystems. But until now, we were working only with the doing mobility of students or mobility of professional education. We have mobility of research, but not mobility of technology transfer or this kind of ideas. This is the kind of projects that I feel that can also add more value to know better, following the idea of Bruno, about the important role of universities as an entrepreneurial universities, but not just in a local dimension, also in a global, as Jasmina told before, global dimension, because it's local and global in two ways. Good, wonderful.
So,
by the way,
thank you.
to Guillermo, if you are interested in this change of the over time of the evolution, try to find a paper. If not, send me an email and I will provide to you the paper about the evolution of ecosystems in the urban dimension. But you will need to use the knowledge-based urban development theory for understanding better that. Okay, good.
Great. I really want to continue this conversation, and if it's possible, to be back to ecosystems, universities, and identity, Bruno, in another moment. So Brazilians must be hungry because it's lunchtime. Now.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you a lot. It was fantastic to have this conversation with you. And before to say bye-bye, I want to invite you to our next live session that will be on August. And as soon as we have the confirmed date, we will inform you. So thank you, Bruno, Jasmina, and Piqué. So I hope I could see you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. We're in touch. Bye-bye.